Hello and welcome to the top 16 superstars as part of the FIA certified Gran Turismo Championships. It's the Nations Cup up first, it's the Asia region. My name is Tom Brooks, alongside me for this one is Chaz Draycott, and we're here to guide you through the action. So let's have a look, shall we, at the standings in the Asia region for the Nations Cup after 29 rounds. You can see Akagi leads the way on 24,108 points. Quite a pronounced gap there, Chaz. He's got over Karakuma in second position. Quite a pronounced gap actually over the rest of the field entirely.
Yeah, he's really running away with it by the look of it at the moment. Kawakana down there in sixth place as well, just behind Yamado Racing, about 300 points, well actually just under 300 points between the two of them, and it's quite nicely spread out even further down than that. So even though there is the top 16 on screen, only a couple of thousand points between them, and of course with how the championship is made up, it's very easy for those drivers to just have a really good meeting and propel themselves right into contention. Yeah,
it's going to be interesting to see how they will fare over the course of this one. Let's take a closer look, shall we, at the circuit that these drivers will be competing on then here for the Nations Cup. And you can see it's an old favourite, Mount Panorama, known to many as Bathurst. Located in southeastern Australia, you can see here, well, it is an absolutely brilliant circuit for many reasons. Lots of infamous corners, lots of turns and twists. You've got Hell Corner of Turn 1, you've got the cutting as you go up through the tight and twisty section, Quarry Bend, Solomon Park, McPhillamy Park, Skyline as well, down in towards the Forest Elbow. And I tell you what, elevation here, Chaz, just the casual 174 metres.
Yeah, only a little bit, I suppose. But corners on this circuit, such as Skyline and the Dipper, it's an incredible section. No matter what sim you're in, no matter what car you're in, it's always a very frightening part of the track to go around. You can just see how many corners there are down that section. Then as you start coming back down the mountain, that's when you really got to have your wits about you. And you may think, oh, I've got a nice long break here as we go down the massive long straight downs towards the chase. But if anything, the lap only gets harder and harder. You're going to be pushing it as late as you can on the brakes to try and get as much done as you can before you get into the last few corners. And it's not always as easy as that.
Certainly isn't. Well, the Conrod straight called the Conrod because it used to, in the olden days, you'd blow a Conrod through the bonnet, essentially, which is not what you want to be doing.
No,
that's for sure. You can see the penalty line is just there out of turn 19 as well. So if any drivers that pick up any penalties for exceeding track limits or running into another driver, that is where they'll serve it. And that's the most crucial part on the lap, to be losing time as well. Let's take a closer look at the race details then, shall we, and see what these drivers are going to be competing in. Well, they're in Group 2 machines, so they're certainly not slow at all. They've got racing medium and soft tyres available to them. A qualifying duration of 10 minutes, which has already been decided, so we know how the grid lines up. 9 laps, though, for them here. A total driving distance of just under 60 kilometres. 2 times fuel consumption, rather, I should say. 7 times tyre wear. Now, if we have a look at the strategy here, it's going to be interesting to see what the drivers will go to. I reckon they're probably going to start on the soft tyres because they can get 5 laps out of them, and then maybe switch midway through the races. Nothing says that they have to use both tyre compounds, I don't believe, in this one. So if they do stop, they will probably go from soft to soft.
Yeah, it'd be interesting to see if they do that because they'd want to keep the overall average pace up. Of course, there is a 13-second pit stop time, really. So it's obviously it does make a dent in your progress, but you've got to think about the balance between your on-track pace against the time that you lose in the pit lane. So if these guys do want to try and go to the end on the mediums, then you've got to think that their overall pace on a lap at the end of the race may be completely compromised if the tyres have lost that life. So if someone comes out and they've got brand new softs on, then they're going to be doing a much better job. So it'll be good to see how those two strategies overlap as the race goes on.
Well, it's going to be interesting, isn't it? Because you could, in theory, as you can see there, do the full race on the medium set of tyres, but it's nearly a second a lap slower. So then you've got to work out, does that counterbalance the 13 seconds plus the 2 seconds, so 15 seconds in total you're going to lose making a pit stop? Be interesting to see what happens then. Let's get ready, shall we, and find out. The cars lined up on the grid then. Karakuma on pole position. Akagi also qualified in the front row. Yamado Racing, Yakiku on the second row. Kawakana and Cars on the third row. Then it's Carsaika, Arrow 71SR, Gilles Honda and Shui rounding out the top 10. So Karakuma leads the field over the timing line. Down towards the first corner we go in the Group 2 machines here at Bathurst. And it's Karakuma who holds on to his early advantage. We don't normally see too much drama with these flying starts, but we do see them getting very racy very early on in the opening couple of corners. So let's keep an eye out and see how things change. Over the hill we go and up in towards the climb. Once again, here is Akagi. They're still in second position. Here is Arrow 71SR as well. Now, he's got great guns so far. in the Nations Cup for the Asia region. So keep an eye out for his ascension, hopefully through the field. He's got the very fast car Cyker, though, just in front of him here. These Group 2 machines are such a spectacular thing to behold, though, Chaz.
Oh yeah, there's so much downforce, massive arches, massive rear wings, and of course there's two different specifications of the GTRs by the look of it as well, different bits of bodywork, different wings, but the pace that they're carrying through McPhillamy Park there, look at the commitment as well. The downforce really at work through here. It's great to see them. Oh, Yukiku out of shape.
Oh, and he's just going to collect Car Cyker, I think, who just got involved in the mix there as well. Kawakana, meanwhile, makes his way through into 4th position. Yukiku with the penalty following that collision with the wall there. So big drama here on the opening lap as they come down through in towards the Forest Elbow for the first time of asking. There is Yukiku, and he's going to serve that penalty exactly where he doesn't want to either, onto this straight, the Conrod straight, and that is going to be disappointment there for him, because a 5-second penalty in these early stages is going to drop him right back through the field as they all come ascending up through.
Yeah, they've gone flying past him now. It's really going to hurt him down that long straight. Look at the speed these things are doing as well. Down through the chase, you're going to be flattening these things through there. Real commitment onto the brakes, get it turned into the chicane. And it's very important, really, to get it out of there as smoothly as possible, because this last corner, it really is a very strong overtaking opportunity. Want to put my teeth back in, as you
slip there for Akagi in 2nd position as he came out of that final turn. Does that compromise his drive down to turn 1? It doesn't allow an opportunity for Yamato Racing to close up too much, but in the slipstream here, maybe he'll be able to try and do something as they come over the brow of the hill once again to start that climb. Now, crucially here, all of these drivers have started on racing soft tyres, Chaz, as well. We know the expected lifespan of these soft tyres is about 5 laps or so it's a case of when the drivers are going to pit, not if.
Yeah, definitely. And what you'd be doing, I mean, if it was me, I'd probably try and make them last as long as possible. But at the same time, you don't want to go for that extra lap longer just in case the life of the tyres is completely gone and you lose the pace of that lap. So it'll be interesting to see who pits and when, whether we get a lot of them on the same lap or individual drivers on different laps, for example. And of course, whether any of them decide to go for the mediums towards the end just to get that extra bit of life into the last few laps.
Let's keep an eye out and see how things go. Here is Aero 71SR. He qualified in 8th position, rubbing himself up against the wall as he goes through the right-hander there. A little bit on the grass, and Car Cyker in front also getting a bit of paintwork off of his Nissan GTR. Look at the commitment through here. It is just absolutely unrivaled, isn't it? It beggars belief how they can carry so much corner speed going through there.
Yeah, through the Forest Elbow now, then through the left-hander. It's such a difficult corner to get right because you really want to get on the power as soon as you can. You really want to hug that inside wall, but of course the wall on the right-hand side on exit, it tightens up as you get on the throttle, so it's so easy to clip it, and of course you lose all your speed for the long straight now down to the chase. As you see Cars there in 5th position, chasing down Kawakana, Yamato Racing in 3rd, but Kerakuma still leading the way at the moment. At the end of the 2nd lap already. It really it's usually quite a long lap round here, but these Group 2 machines are eating away at these laps very quickly.
Yeah, about 154, 155 is the average lap time in these Group 2 machines, so it is done very quickly, as you say there, Chaz. Down in towards that first corner we go. Yamato Racing, last time around, he was all over the gearbox of Akagi in 2nd position. We ride on board with the Japanese driver now, and he's not too close to his compatriot this time around, so Akagi has managed to get his act together and pull out a bit of an advantage. Now his sights will be very firmly set on the race leader of Kerakuma, but he's not able to close up too much because it's still at about 1.6 seconds, as it has been the last lap or so there and thereabouts. And this is interesting as well because we're seeing different strengths and weaknesses coming in for both of these drivers. They're stronger in certain sectors than others, more comfortable in certain sectors than others as well. So it's interesting to see how those gaps are differentiating over the course of the lap.
Yeah, definitely, and even though this track, a lot of it, I mean, let's face it, a lot of it looks the same because there's no real runoff areas in most of it. It's just concrete walls either side. You can see just how narrow it is here. So difficult to make an overtaking move just because of the constant pace that you're at as well through there. And there's only really one line round this place most of the time. It is interesting to see how people are more comfortable, like you say, in one sector to the next. They are all very differing. Down the hill, you've got to be so careful. You try and carry as much commitment as you can. But because you're going downhill, it's easier to have too much speed than not enough of it, and going up the hill, it's the other way around. You might not be going as quick and turn in.
Exactly, and this is a circuit you know quite well as well, Chad. So what do you think this circuit rewards? Is it more of a smooth, clean driving style, or do you think it rewards the aggression?
I think it rewards the aggression. You've got to really push it on the limit, though. You just got to be very, very careful about how you chuck it in and not to clip the wall on the inside. You can usually get away with hitting the wall on the outside more, on the exit of a corner, for example. But it depends where on the track, I suppose. Like I was saying before, if you do it at Forest Elbow, it'll hurt you down the straight. We've got a great little battle going on here, though, between Car Psyker, Arrow 71, and Shohei as well. Just bunching up together now. Do you think Shoei's going to get the job done, or do you think he's going to wait in the wings to see what happens?
It's very interesting to say, very difficult to say at this stage as well. And great stuff from Shoei, because he was on the fringes of the top 10 at the start of this race, and making his way up into 8th position and getting himself involved in this three-way scrap for 6th position is very impressive indeed. You can see the slipstream in these Group 2 cars. Not quite, well, it's very effective, but these drivers not having a lot of opportunity to try and find their way past. Arrow 71 ducks round. He tries to sell him a dummy to go up the inside, but isn't quite able to make any moves stick through there. And Shoei as well is right on the back of him now as they come up the climb in towards the left-hander. Surely Arrow's not going to send it up the inside. Very sensibly, he thinks better of it, because that's a one-way ticket to the barrier.
Yeah, and it's not the most forgiving of barriers around here. Of course, they are very, very solid concrete barriers, as I'm sure most of these guys will be aware of. But this is the real commitment down here now through McPhillamy Park. Look at the speed that Arrow 71 can carry through there. But as they go down towards Skyline, he's not going to be eyeing him up for a move yet. He's not quite close enough. It's just a case following it down. Oh, he's a bit wide going in, a bit squirrely on the grass. Manages to keep it all together through the dipper then, down towards the Forest Elbow. Really, really interesting part of the track, this, because it looks a lot faster than it is in these cars. But it's going to be very, very scary from where those guys are sat. I'd rather be watching it from outside here. I don't know about you.
Yeah, absolutely right. Well, it is great racing regardless. Meanwhile, here is Akagi. He still hasn't managed to close down that gap to Karakuma. It's sat at about 1.7 seconds over the entire duration of this race. Now, when are these drivers going to pit? Because we know that they've got around about 5 laps or so of good tyre life out of these racing softs. And when are they going to come in and put another set of boots on their car? And crucially, are they going to go for the mediums? Are they going to go for the softs? You would imagine that they would just do a soft change around. A medium in the latter stage of this race wouldn't really make a lot of sense unless they have to use both compounds of tyres. Then we'll have to wait and see whether that makes any difference for these drivers. But you can see here Karakuma still setting another fast lap, a 1 minute 50 flat. Last time around it was, compared to the 150.1 for Akagi in second position.
Yeah, the gap staying quite similar for a lot of these guys now. It's quite evenly spread, except for that 6th, 7th and 8th place battle that we look at here. There's Shoei there in 8th position. He's got Car Negi Fish behind him as well. Black Beauty rounding out your top 10 as they go up the mountain once again. And they're quite fortunate here as well, really, with the actual conditions that they're in, because a lot of the shadows that are cast on the circuit, the big bit of bloom there as they go into the cutting, just may upset them a little bit, may sort of distract them, but it's not really something you think about much in sim racing, but conditions can play a big part in it, especially when it comes to lighting as well. As that was Shoei making a big bit of contact with the wall. Lucky not to get a penalty there, actually, Tom.
Very lucky indeed, as you say, Chaz. So let's keep an eye on things and see whether that does change, whether he graces the wall a few more times. You can see Arrow 71 SR doing exactly that, coming in towards the drop now, and then through in towards that Forest Elbow section. This is so brilliant as they go in towards the dipper and then the Forest Elbow. You can see it's just threading the eye of a needle at what is nearly 100 miles an hour for these drivers. That corner begins to tighten up. It's very much one at a time, and a bit of a slide there out of the corner for Arrow 71 SR. Is it going to allow Shoei to close up? I think he had a slide of himself, but now he's going to have the slipstream here as well. He goes defensive immediately, does Arrow 71. He knows that Shoei is going to be very ready to pounce as we ride on board, but again, he just doesn't have the straight line speed to try and make anything stick. And crucially here as well, Chaz, the race leaders at the moment of Karakuma, Akagi and Yamato Racing have not made pit stops. They are going round for another lap. This is after the recommended pit window, so they're trying to stretch these tyres out as long as possible. Are they going to try and go maybe to the end of the race?
Oh, I don't know. I don't know how brave they are, whether they stick it out, because you've got to think that if they're all going to do it, then they're all going to be losing the same amount of pace per lap, and that would make sense at the end of the day. If the tyres are really on their last legs and they reckon they can stretch them, then all of them would probably do it. But I'm pretty sure we may see a pit stop with just a couple of laps to go, maybe at the end of this one, and then it might be, well, I think at this distance you'd have to go for softs again. Going to mediums, it wouldn't be worth it for the life that you'd lose in the tyres, I don't think.
Yeah, completely. Here is Shoei then still all over the back of Arrow 71 SR like a bad rash at the moment, trying to find his way through, but not having an opportunity presenting itself so far. In through up the left-hander we go. Look at the climb there, look at the ascension as they make it up the brow of the hill. You wouldn't want to be doing that in a very unpowerful car, because you'd be sliding straight back down again. Thankfully, no such worries for these Group 2 machines. Plenty of power at the rear wheels for them. And Arrow 71 SR, I tell you what, he is doing a brilliant job of holding off this pressure of Shoei behind. And Shoei's just trying to force his countryman into a mistake at the moment. But Arrow 71 SR, for the most part, keeping things on the straight and narrow.
Yeah, it certainly is, and it certainly is narrow as well, I tell you that. Down this section, just skimming the walls either way. We go on board now just so you see what the approach to Forest Elbow is like. It's almost blind going into there. You see the wall on the right just tighten up as you get on the throttle now, down the Conrod straight. As we head down towards the chase and the speed builds up, it's got a little bit of a gap now back to Shoei. The slipstream, of course, is going to come into effect here, but Karsika has got away there, actually, in 6th place. He's gapped these guys quite a lot. Look at the slipstream this time. Now he's got the better run. Is he going to go down the inside into the chase? He does, but he's no later on the brakes, so he just slots in behind him.
Arrow runs a bit wide, though, on the apex there. Will that allow Shoei to close up on exit? Not really, no, that's the problem. Into Murray's they go for the 6th time of asking. And I tell you what, these drivers still continuing on for another lap here. I reckon they could potentially, as Karakuma there in front, just running a little bit wide, try to go to the end of this race on these racing soft tyres. The thing is, it becomes a bit of a moot point after a while as well. You're going to lose time from pitting, so if the driver behind you doesn't, it's a case of who blinks first. And if you both blink at the same time, great, you're not going to lose out too much. But, of course, if you do, then you could potentially be throwing away a race victory.
Yeah, and of course, at such a late stage in the race as well, thinking about other competitors behind that might just stick it out for the final lap if it comes to it, it may not be worth doing. So in the end, it's just about, well, like you say, just about assessing what your competitors are doing and who does blink first, as we see Showing out, still not giving up, chasing the back of Arrow 71 SR as they go back up the mountain once again. On board with him here. You can just see how narrow this section is just before McPhillamy Park. You want to keep it on the throttle as best you can. Showy just clipping the wall though, getting the sparks up there through the very, very fast triple left-hander that they have here over the crest. That's when the grip comes back to you as the car levels out again. It's a very, very deceiving part of the track because there's so many oscillations. You're going over a crest, the grip's going away, and then as soon as you're hitting the bottom of it again, just like that, the grip's back there. He's got a bit of oversteer out of the dipper, and then they go back down to Forest Elbow once again as we come to the end nearly of the 7th lap of this race already. It's flown by.
Absolutely has, yeah. These Group 2 machines are proving to be very fast, and you can see there the 2 times fuel consumption, 7 times tyre wear that these drivers are having to be contending with over the course of this race. Though fuel shouldn't be too much of a drama. Let's look at Akagi here though. Meanwhile, that gap is still sitting at about 1.4 seconds. He's just not close enough to try and launch anything on Karakuma at the moment, and he's going to be running out of opportunities if he's not too careful. Maybe he's realised he's going to have to settle for second best, and now surely is when these drivers are going to be going to the end of the race. Through the left-hander we go. There is Karakuma, your race leader at the moment. He's led from lights to this point so far. Could it be a Lysa flag victory for the Japanese driver? Will his countrymen be able to do anything about it as they come over the brow of the hill? 4 Japanese drivers inside the top 4 as things stand. Then you've got the 2 Hong Kong-based drivers of Cars, and then Karsika in 5th and 6th position.
Here's Kawakana just chasing down Yamato Racing, trying to go for that final podium spot, but he's not made any advances so far. The gap under a second though, so he's definitely within slipstream distance. If he can get close enough onto the last lap coming onto the Conrod straight, you've got to think he'll have a go. He might just be playing those mind games and just hanging back slightly, just putting the pressure on in a bit of a subtle way on the current podium place setter at the moment of Yamato Racing 38. Into Skyline once again then for second place Akagi. A little bit of grass on the left, gets this car stopped down into the dipper on 3 wheels, almost 2 wheels down there. It's amazing to watch them fly down and into Forest Elbow once again.
I think what this is a very mature drive from everybody involved. We haven't seen any rash moves, any late lunges, hardly any contact in this race either as well, and that's really impressive to see everybody behaving as they should be on circuit, and also treating competitors with the respect that they should have as well. And Karakuma, very, very difficult to overstate just what a great job he is doing. That gap now has come down to under a second for the first time since the start of this race, so maybe Akagi is beginning to push a little bit more here in the closing stages at Mount Panorama, getting ready to come through to start the final lap of asking here in Australia. Through the left-hander we go for the Nations Cup. One more lap from home here at Bathurst, and is Akagi going to be able to close that gap down? It's gone down to 0.7 of a second. He's going to have the lap of his life and try, and surely the Conrod straight is where he's going to think about making that move, isn't it?
Yeah, definitely. And it's really interesting. Again, we come back to the point that no one's pitted yet. No one at all in this race has managed to sort of bite the bullet and pull it in. So Kawakana is in 4th place then, chasing down Yamato Racing. Over the crest they go, completely flat up to here into the very, very quick right-hander. In any other car, you'd probably be doing about half the speed. A bit of a slide there from Yamato Racing on the brakes, maybe starting to struggle a little bit with these soft tyres. It's really opened up the advantage now to Kawakana. He's putting the pressure on.
Look at that wider line he took in there as well, taking that later apex, trying to get better drive up through the hill. It doesn't allow him to just close up, though. The problem here is, it's a bit of a moot point. He can close up, but he's not going to be able to find his way past at this point. It's so much one at a time through here that if you try and go up the inside of a fellow competitor, you're both going to end up in the wall, and that'll be curtains for the pair of you.
Yeah, exactly. You've just got to sort of play the sort of mature game, as you were saying a moment ago. It has been a mature drive by them. But you've got to play it safe, just keep your head level in this scenario. And now, here we go, here's one of the talking points then. Akagi on the back of Kerakuma down the Conrod straight. Do you reckon he can get it done?
I don't think he's close enough. I think he's just a step back. If he was a couple of tenths of a second closer, then yes. But unless he's going to think about a lunge. Hang on a minute, though. I could be completely contradicting myself, because look at the slipstream. Look at how much he is reining in Kerakuma. You know that Kerakuma is going to try and find his way through. He goes defensive. Akagi goes to the outside line. Into the chicane we go. Through the left-hander. They're so close, running nose to tail. Kerakuma defends as Akagi attacks. They're one corner from home as third position changes hands. Nearly. Yamato Racing still does hold on to third place. Into Murray's for the last time of asking. He tried as hard as he could to Akagi, but he couldn't hold off the man who has led from start to finish. Kerakuma takes the checkered flag in Nations Cup race here in Asia. Brilliant stuff from him. Yamato Racing does get third position. Brilliant driving from him there. Kawakana in fourth place, Cars in fifth, and Car Saika in sixth position. That was a brilliantly close, tension-filled race right to the very end.
Yeah, it certainly was. It was nail-biting stuff to see if these guys go for the moves at the right point. Just to see who was going to blink first, as you said, with the pit stops as well. Very interesting to see that nobody went to do that in the end. It'd be interesting to see, of course, if any other drivers managed to do that in any of the other races that we see, because obviously with these different race lengths, different strategies, and also it obviously depends on the track as well. So, yeah, it's a very mixed bag from what I've seen in this one, but I really, really enjoyed that one. Great drive by Kerakuma, though, and great to see Akagi go for the attack at the end, but not quite get the job done.
Yeah, very, very impressive stuff from all of those drivers. As we said, mature drives from all involved. Great stuff, from Kerakuma there, as he led, as we said, from lights to flag. Let's take a look at the final race results then. Kerakuma takes victory. Akagi and Yamato joining him on the rostrum. Then comes Kawakana, Car Saika in sixth position, Arrow 71SR in seventh, Shohei in eighth there as well. Didn't quite have the pace towards the end of that race. He'll be hoping for better luck next time out in the Nations Cup. As we look further down the order, Black Beauty there, Tetsuya Sugawara in ninth position, ahead of Carnegie Fish there in 10th place. Yo Honda in 11th, Car Wing and Bug in 12th, Yukiku Hyde 250 SP, MR Freyan there in 15th, and Shang Far Racing in 16th position. As we look further down the order, you know that there are 20 drivers, of course, 16 drivers rather, up and down the field, and that is how they all sit at the end of this race for round 30 of the Nations Cup for the Asia region. And here is how the point standing sits after the 30th round of the Nations Cup then. And you can see just one change on the board there. Chaz, Yamato Racing manages to leapfrog Gilles Honda. Yeah,
just that 100-point gap already from that one race. Just shows how important each and every race in these championships are. But Akagi still top of the standings. Kerakuma, 23,819 points. So, well, it's still quite a big gap to him, but you never know. They've just got to give it everything in every single race as they come. And hopefully he can make that gap even closer for the next few rounds.
Yeah, exactly what he needed to do there. Kerakuma was a strong result, so let's see how things will pan out in the next round. We're in NYC from the 24th to the 25th of August for World Tour 3, bringing you coverage of the Nations Cup and the Manufacturers Series. Whatever you do, be sure to tune in, because the racing is going to be absolutely spectacular.